day. Close my eyes, watch it all fade away. If you know where the blood's coming from, please let me know. I was never afraid until it was my time to go. It's my cloudy, sunny day. Close my eyes, watch it all fade away. Don't you worry if it all feels the same. Just keep trying, you will know when it changes. It's your cloudy, sunny day. Close your eyes, watch it all fade away.
Boom.
There we are.
We're here. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is exciting stuff.
So let's dive in deep.
Well, I mean, first, we're back. You're here.
here.
We're doing it. But this is not your normal. I mean, this is yours, but it's not your normal thing.
I
is not-
decided we're not diving deep enough, so we gotta get in the weeds a little bit.
Okay.
So
Because I guess technically, yeah, this is like a deep dive of sorts that we're embarking.
we'll go with the deepest, the deepest dive.
That's why I didn't consider it as like a high five or deep dive. As I'm like, well, it's not like, I mean, like it's a deep dive, but like, I mean, like it's how do you dive deeper?
Yeah. What can we get into?
Yeah, exactly.
What can we get
yeah,
into here?
yeah,
So we've been talking about genre a lot just in our personal lives.
yes,
Mostly because it infuriates me to know it.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
We had been talking. You said, hey, why don't we talk about this in depth?
Yeah.
For the internet.
Well, and
So-
this is something that I've wanted to do more of here, period, because I think that obviously there's a lot to talk about. So it's kind of daunting. But really the big thing for me is that it kind of like it does the work itself. Because there's so much to talk about that you could just sit there and just yap forever.
Yeah, you just ramble.
But because there's so much, I think that's why we haven't done, like, we've talked about some kind of genres before, but it's been like small niche little things or like styles or like not even that deep, just kind of ideas, which is good. But like, our conversations outside of here, it seems like we're already going deep.
Right. So it's a tricky one to start because genre is a pretty loose definition
Sure.
by this point.
Yeah.
So I did the work, and the definition
Perfect.
from the dictionary is a category of art that's differentiated by form, style, and subject.
Okay.
So pretty basic.
Form, style, or subject. Okay, got it. Okay.
So typically that's going to stem from the literary world first.
Yep.
So music really doesn't get genreified until you look at the selling of sheet music.
Right.
Otherwise, it is either sacred music
Right.
or not sacred music.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The separation is much clearer in like, you know, we're talking about like, I mean, what, like before 1700s?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So with what we'll call classical music as a genre,
Right.
in this sort of study here, classical music is defined by eras.
Right.
Classical music, even the phrase is a specific era that I don't have written down here, but
Yeah.
it's a very specific time frame.
Right.
So, and it sort of starts, I think, with the invention of the piano.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it makes it gets things out of the harpsichord, which is a terrible sounding instrument
That's wild.
for someone who's drawn to terrible sounds. Harpsichord was and is not for me.
Does that mean that you even like, you know, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Just so we have it real quick, just so that this is a small thing, and I'm sure we could talk about obviously more later. You have medieval, you have Renaissance, Baroque, classical, early Romantic, late Romantic, post Great War years. That's, those are just some of them, but yeah, that's the postmodernist would be like, you have modernist, postmodernist. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about the term post soon. It gets crazy. So what I did, and we can discuss this in depth and figure it out together. I wrote down, I believe, 14.
Okay.
What I'm calling these are prime source genres.
Okay.
So I'll rattle them off here. These are not in order time wise or anything.
They're just genres.
So just what I could kind of work out.
Sure.
So we've got classical music, which we just covered the eras there.
Yep.
We've got pop music, which is a term that sort of stems from, again, sheet music sales.
Sure.
We get jazz, country music, rock, electronic, hip hop. I put soul and R&B in the same category.
Yep, that's fine.
Sacred music, Latin music, blues music, dance, reggae, and funk.
Okay.
Those seem to be sort of the primary source.
Sure.
Where you can, you know, Always Sunny Pepe Sylvia.
Grabs the next one.
Red Thread.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Drawn out. So
the only one that I don't know if we might talk about briefly is world music.
So I approached this from Western music.
Okay,
I
cool.
should have probably led with that.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
World music gets into a lot of things, really, like even further than I think we could ever cover. So Latin being a pretty big exception in the Western world.
Yeah.
As far as I would call that a world music category.
It does. It has. I mean, like we're doing this like, you know, the week of them or the week after announcing like Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl. So I mean, we have like a world, like it's not just, so, you know, Latin music is very, very prevalent in our pop culture.
Sure.
It has been.
Yeah, we'll get into it as we deep dive into these genres more, where it just really kind of pops its head up. We were talking today, Latin's a big one. Jazzers really like to just pop their head into genres and go, you know, we can do this too.
That's very true. So, that is very, very true.
And that's, you know, fusion will be of course a weird subject to get into.
Yep.
So genre, I mean, you're a metal guy, so you of course have fallen cursed to how many levels of depth can we get on these subgenre charts.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah, and it's, again, if you're defining things by style, this just goes further and further to the point where you just like, okay, this is my post-blackened tech death.
Yeah, well, it's like at a certain point, I think part of this is like at a certain point, when does it matter to give it said genre? Like, at what point do we have a genre that then turns into just nothingness? You know,
sure.
Because it's like you have all of these classifications for something, and it's like it's just music. Like it's just metal. It's just this. You know, like I I can think of many examples where I have a hard time describing what the band or artist is, and I ultimately would just go back to its most simple form and then try to give some descriptor afterwards, because the genre just at a certain point is just circular. Right?
Absolutely. So here's a couple of thoughts that I'm going to throw at you. The first big genre separation in my mind is pre-recorded music. When you're buying sheet music, you bought sacred music, you bought pop music, which would have been standards, that sort of thing, the American Songbook,
right,
and classical music.
Okay.
At that point, music was not widely available to everyone. It was pretty classist.
Right.
If you weren't making enough money to have music in the home, if you couldn't afford a piano.
Right.
You just didn't have it.
Exactly.
So from that moving forward, you start recording music, and then they develop radio for military use. Then soldiers start playing their records through shortwave radio.
Right.
That eventually develops into radio as we knew it until, 10 years ago.
Right.
It's now just all the internet, regardless. But you had to categorize by about 1945, 1950.
Okay.
This is what our radio station is going to broadcast.
Gotcha.
Be it, we're a country music station.
Right.
We are a gospel radio station.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So radio was a big one. It really kind of forced labels to go, this is what we do.
Well, and this would become due to the accessibility of not just listening to music, but being able to play music across like the over time. We can look back at, say, the Baroque or classical era, and I would say mostly pre-classical, but definitely parts of the classical era. And that's like 1750 to 1830 is what I have here. So part of that, a good chunk of that, I would say. Again, piano's just not in the home. Music's just an instrument's just not in the home, and so as access to that increases, then therefore more music becomes reality. You start to have more people playing music, and therefore you start to have more styles of music pop up, and hence the need even for the radio stations to differentiate.
Sure. So, like I said, radio, formatting a radio station, we just talked about, is a big deal, particularly post 40s, post World War II, because it becomes a money-making endeavor.
Yeah.
And it really hadn't been up to that point. You had a few small radio stations that could broadcast maybe 100 miles from their city. Dang. So you'd get pockets with Nashville is covering Nashville, New York.
Yeah.
Is essentially what you get on the East Coast.
Right.
Dallas and Chicago in the middle of the country.
Yeah. And
then you get LA and San Francisco on the West Coast. And those are essentially the radio markets.
Right.
Until about 1945, 1946.
Yeah.
When
that's crazy.
The technology comes back from the war.
And
they're going, okay, we can amplify the signal enough that we can build smaller stations.
Yeah.
And only push about 50 or 60 miles.
Yeah.
But we can franchise those to, the radio station out of Nashville is then in Jackson, Mississippi.
Right.
As an affiliate station.
Yes. So this is actually an interesting thing. It's a little unrelated to music, but radio. This is what I've heard, and I could be wrong, but as to why the Dallas Cowboys are America's team is because they were one of the only teams that were being their game was being broadcast over radio, and so I don't know how that as far as when that would have happened versus for this technology. I don't know that time, but the story is that they were the only team that was being broadcasted out to everyone to hear. So I don't know if that's from the football game to a station to whatever. I don't know how when that happened or what the technology was at the time, at least, right? But that's how big radio was, right? Is that you have a football team that is still to this day referred to as America's football team, and which is stupid because they're the Dallas Cowboys, but
nationally broadcast.
Exactly. Yeah.
So radio is a a subject that you can get very deep on very fast.
Right.
As far as genres go, again, it's really where are you at?
Right.
The stations in Chicago are not going to be playing the Appalachian music that's coming out of Tennessee, or the Mexican music that's coming out of Texas, at the time, or the California's got its own sort of burgeoning country music scene, at the time, due to sharecroppers moving there from the East Coast,
right.
So when we look at those, the 14, is there anything there that stands out that you go, well, that's really kind of stems from here?
I don't think so. I mean, like, I guess, like, we talking about, like, I think that you could probably, because you have R&B and soul, right?
Yeah.
Is blues there?
So blues stems from jazz, technically.
Right, yeah.
But it established itself in radio in particular.
Yeah.
As its own category to itself.
And then, like, rock also would be one of those things. I think that a lot of people would stem back to blues and so on.
Sure.
But I do think that some of these, I would make the argument that rock has made a name for itself.
Absolutely.
Like rock is looking at the historical, like, where it comes from, it's good to say, yeah, it comes from blues, it comes from black artists originally.
Right.
But I think that where rock is now is not necessarily indicative of what the blues is or was. Maybe aspects musically, but, like, it's not, if you listen to a modern rock song, you're not going to go like, that reminds me of the blues from the 50s. It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, this doesn't sound like Muddy Waters at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. I think those are probably, like, I think probably another one that's interesting is dance.
So dance is weirdly specific.
Sure.
Again, radio and more DJs in the 70s, they started to produce music that the primary function of that music is dance clubs.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Which is interesting because there's probably a Venn diagram of that and electronic music.
Sure.
And maybe, like, at certain times hip hop, or maybe at certain times funk, or maybe at certain, like, I think a lot of genres would have that Venn diagram of, like, this is dance music as well.
Sure. Electronic music's crazy because it really dates back to the 20s.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So there's this thing happening with just mad scientists, which is still happening today with modular synthesizer guys. That is it's so tied back so far in history that, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of artists who don't even realize they are referencing artists from 1920. I think Edgar Varese started putting out like weird synthesizer music.
Right.
So, and we'll try to listen to some of that eventually.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
no, I think that everything kind of, like, I mean, country would fall under the same kind of, like, umbrella as, like, coming from blues or something, like, it's these, but all of these genres have made a place and a name for themselves outside of where they come from. I think that, there's a lot of classical musicians who would make the argument that without, like, that everything comes from classical music, and therefore, like, like, not everything is classical music, but this wouldn't exist without classical music. And I'm like, I could maybe see that side of the argument.
Sure.
But, like, I'm not gonna, like, listen to a Foo Fighters tune and be like, thanks, Beethoven. Like that's never where my brain's gonna go. I don't think that, like, Beethoven would think that should be the case either. So, like,
sure.
Yeah.
Classical, like I said, it kind of pops up in some strange places through music history, through pop music history in particular.
Absolutely.
Just between, like, neoclassical shred guitar in the 80s.
Yep.
And, like, prog rock in the 70s, and there's a lot of classical elements. Harpsichord, again, in, like, 60s psychedelia.
Very true, yeah. Very, very true.
So this stuff pops up, and these guys are versed in a lot of music.
Yeah.
And then the end result is so different from that, but then you can sit down and trace.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, this is, like, you're playing Beethoven harpsichord movements or whatever.
Yeah, and that's a super interesting thing that I think could come up in a lot of facets is looking. I mean, it's less so genre related, more music related, but it does happen across genres where you have people who are, like writing a song, writing a piece, whatever, and it sounds like this piece from 100 years ago, and it's like, but it's actually a different genre, totally different style, but you could trace it. You could it's the same melody, but it sounds totally. It's like it sounds totally different, but it's a different like. Is it the same thing? Is it different? And that conversation can go on forever. But that's less genre related, more like interpolation, music, copyright related.
How much can you do with 12 notes?
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
Only so many combinations to cover the last 500 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So just to come back to radio a bit.
Yeah.
There's a big thing that happens in the 60s. Mm-hmm. You have radio prior to that, but it's all what they call AM, amplitude modulation stations, which is typically a mono signal.
Right.
And it's primarily top 40 music for the region.
Right.
Again, country music in the South and Southern East Coast.
Yep.
A lot of jazz and blues jazz in New York, blues in Chicago.
Yep.
And then you hit the 60s and you get what they call FM stations, frequency modulation.
Yep.
Which is lower output. Like I said, you're 50 miles versus 100 miles at the time.
Yep.
But you get disc jockeys there who are seeking out new, more experimental things, which is where you get the Bakersfield sound with Buck Owens in Southern California.
Yeah.
Or, blues music has a big rise in the 50s because Chicago radio stations are playing artists that have been playing blues since the 20s.
Well, you get every single artist that they want to start. They need radio play now to succeed. Like at a certain point, that like you get people who are playing stuff that's been around or is new or whatever, but now it's to the point where you need radio play. You need radio to get to where you need to get, and that's probably one of the like more interesting things that radio becomes like the culture. It becomes like the tastemaker.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the station in Nashville that ran the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That sort of explodes radio nationally. But WSM?
I'm looking it up.
Maybe, let's see. That's a good pop quiz for me.
I have no idea. WSM.
WSM.
Yep, nicely done.
Then you get the Grand Ole Opry there, but at the same time, there's a station out of, I think, Shreveport, Louisiana, that has a show called Louisiana Hayride that's very similar to the Grand Ole Opry.
Right.
And when we start talking a little more in depth about country music, we'll get into the weeds on that too, because it's a fascinating story.
Yep.
Would you say there is a genre that you feel particularly well versed in, knowledge wise?
It's tough. I think I would want to say, of the list, I would want to say rock.
Sure.
I would probably say classical a little bit. Like, I went to school for it, so I definitely have. But one of the things I struggled with a lot in school for classical was the fact of you know how many fucking names there are?
Yeah.
and how many pieces these guys wrote? I mean, it's insane. So I had a hard time with remembering every single little tiny piece of that, but pretty versed in classical. I would say pop music I'm pretty comfortable with. And I know snippets of jazz and snippets of hip hop and snippets of electronic because we had to learn a lot of jazz. I had to learn a little bit of jazz, a little bit of country, a little bit of electronic in school as well. Yep. But everything else, I guess a little bit of blues, that would go into the same thing. I would put sacred music, my knowledge of sacred music, in the same category as classical music, but probably a little bit less because I just didn't care as much. So
okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I'm decent with some. I would say more confident with rock, classical, pop. Yeah,
probably in the same boat.
Yeah,
country music.
Yeah.
I know more than
I would imagine you know quite a bit about blues as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
All stemming from, again, kind of the same place, but that's how music works.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So from there, we do get into, like we mentioned it up top, sub genres, which is refining more in-depth categories with more focus on style and substance.
Yeah.
They typically stem from either radio formats, which alternative is a big one. That's a radio term initially.
Yep.
Or, excuse me, fusion genres.
Yep.
Was a big one starting out. Now, it's admittedly gotten out of hand.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I think that like subgenres is one thing. When you're looking at like, you know, like you say alternative, you say fusion, these kind of things stem off from certain things. But I think that the thing that really brings me in is that subgenres have become what people identify as what they love. Like,
sure.
like it's like these subgenres to me, like, you know, when I look at the list and like things like alternative and indie and metal aren't on the list, I'm like, that's so interesting. I mean, I don't disagree with it at all. It's just that, like, I know I see kids come in and they go, my favorite genre is indie rock. And I'm like, indie is their favorite thing. I love metal. But that's not like it. Metal has to come from somewhere to get to where we are, right? And it's not like you can't listen to. Well, I would dare say you'd be hard pressed to listen to a metal song without being able to like literally take a couple steps back to get to rock.
Sure.
Whereas like before, saying like, it would be hard for you to listen to a modern rock song and go, let's go back to Beethoven, right? Yeah. That would be difficult. You could, in the most elementary form possible, probably. But if I'm listening to a metal song, if I'm listening to my favorite band, I could trace it back to fusion, back to jazz, and then I could trace it back from fusion back to rock, and then boom, there I am.
Metal's a fascinating one when you start looking at subgenre, because I feel like it's maybe the only one that there is a moment, where this is just everybody agrees.
This is
the first Black Sabbath record,
right? Is
sort of the invention of heavy metal, at the time.
It's so weird to me.
So, and the elements are all there. It's okay.
Yeah,
he's down tuning his guitar. There's a lot of distortion. It's
heavy. It's intense. Yeah, for sure. I think. That's a super interesting one. I think an interesting genre on here that has subgenres but is not referred to as often is country music.
Absolutely.
Like country music has been like, I think that we could probably agree on what bro country sounds like.
Sure.
But someone who likes bro country does not call it bro country. They call it country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, you know, for the longest time, it's not so much the case anymore because radio is a dying thing. Mm-hmm. But there was, you know, this is radio country.
Right. Yeah.
It is what they're pushing out to appease the biggest amount of people. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, you said bro country. The first thing I think of is like trap beats.
Yeah.
And,
right. Yes.
Southern twang, like half pseudo rap.
Yeah.
You know,
but then
it's couldn't be far removed from the bluegrass roots.
Right, yeah. And so then you have like the bluegrass is a great example. You have things like Red Dirt. Sure. You have things like I would say this is country and rock. It's literally the name, but like rockabilly. Like you have these kind of things that are country subgenres, but only. And I guess this is maybe the case for all subgenres, but only those that are in the scene really like refer to each one of those in the country world. I so rarely come across a country music fan who doesn't just refer to country music as country music. They might say like got a little bit of that Red Dirt, but it's like they'll always say it's a country song, not like the insufferable metal fans. They're like, well, this one is this song is kind of metalcore, but it's also like it's pretty prog here, and like it's very but like the vocals are black metal inspired. And it's like I'm gonna lose my mind. Like,
no, it's Bobby's been on the show a few times. He'll always have something that's like, this is like progressive post black and tech death. Like, oh, okay. What makes it those things?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which is what I want to talk about. Right. Like, let's figure out what makes a genre, a subgenre, a post.
Yeah, exactly.
Rock or post-hardcore, and how does hardcore different from punk is different from emo is different from screamo.
Right.
So
not to derail if you have a path you're on here, but I do want to ask two important questions for genre because you said we talk about one of them, but I think they're both related. Could you get into post and could you get into core? A prefix and a suffix, I guess.
Those in my head, like those are modifiers.
Okay.
So you take something. Punk is a good example, just because I've been listening to a lot of. You get New York 1977, and you have the punk scene. Right, 76, you get England, which is Sex Pistols and the Clash, pretty similar.
Yes.
Sounding, but you get to New York by 77 and you have the Ramones who are doing essentially like 60s girl group songs.
Right.
Just shitty. And self-admittedly.
Yeah.
We're not good enough to do this well, but we can do it louder than someone else.
Absolutely. Okay.
But at the same time, the Talking Heads are playing in 77 in the same scene.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As the Ramones.
Yeah.
And people are just going, oh, those punk bands.
Right.
So Talking Heads couldn't really be more removed from the Ramones.
Yeah.
But you can listen to it and go, I can see where they're both listening to Phil Spector productions.
Sure.
From 10 years before.
Okay. I like that.
So you get post-punk happening concurrently with punk music.
Okay.
And we're talking months apart.
Right.
So, whereas you hear the word post, most people think, oh, after.
Yeah.
Post credits scene.
Right. Yeah.
Is after, that sort of thing.
But it's more like a related to or is the same, but maybe, like you said, modifier, being like moderately different than.
Yeah, it's an evolution.
Right. Yeah.
It's not so far removed to, it's guitars and drums.
Yeah.
And, they're not played incredibly proficiently yet.
Right.
It gets that way at some point. But all of this is happening at the same time. So pre-post is just... post to me indicates an evolution of...
Right.
So you move...
Evolution of is great. I like that.
You
That's
move
good.
Beyond what most people would categorize as punk music or hardcore music, which is a branch of punk music. And again, that's kind of where it starts to get out of hand. You're like,
absolutely.
Well, what makes Fugazi a post-hardcore band versus a hardcore band? Or...
but then, now where's the core?
So... Again, hardcore exists.
Okay.
Starting about 1980.
Okay.
Which is just guys who are madder than the Ramones. So you stem from the Dead Boys out of Cleveland. Then you get down to DC where you like Black Flag.
Yep.
Not Black Flag. Minor Threat.
Right.
It's kind of hanging around. Greg Ginn is in California with the Black Flag thing in LA.
Yeah.
And they're just aggro meatheads who are taking what the Ramones were doing.
Yeah.
And then instead of being buffoons, they're just angry.
Incredible.
So the elements of punk music and then metal music, you get like Black Flag is really influenced by Black Sabbath.
Right.
It's just faster and more aggressive.
Right. And so that's the that's the birth of hardcore.
Right.
Okay.
So metalcore in the late 90s, you get bands who are playing what was pretty straightforward hardcore music. And then going, we really like this super riffy stuff that's happening in Sweden or Norway. And they'll take elements of that. So you get these like minor scale riffs, and then just what you'd call like a D beat, hardcore beat.
Yeah,
and go, okay, well, I guess this is metal core. Because we're taking elements of this metal music, but still playing it like a hardcore band.
Right.
So metal, until the mid 80s, was a lot of really proficient playing. You get a lot of technical things happening.
Yep.
And hardcore, you didn't really have that. So that starts to blend, and you get like open string breakdowns.
Right.
Like, this is not the most technical thing in the world, but it's definitely more technical than like a thrash beat.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
just eighth notes.
So that's like looking at like some of the genres that have core after them make perfect sense, and then some are a little. But like I could think of examples for a lot of these, like mathcore.
Yeah, math. I was talking to some people about math as a genre.
Yeah, which is an odd thing in the first place.
So you get into, because my big question is, okay, if it's about time signatures, is Tool a math rock band?
Sure. Yeah, and I think the difference between math rock and prog,
right,
is a fine line that I think. And again, none of these genres I'm about to say are on the list. These are subgenres. But I think math rock cites back to emo.
Sure.
Whereas a band like Tool would just be put in the prog rock, prog metal fusion, maybe prog metal, but let's just say prog rock for now.
Yeah.
So like when I look at a band like, I guess, American Football, they are both cited as an emo band and a math rock band. But then going forward, and I look at mathcore, I see, to me, my first thought is like Dillinger Escape Plan.
Sure.
That's my first like mathcore. That's it. That's the one. And then I'm like, well, it's just metal that is now in the math rock world, when is it prog metal versus mathcore?
Yeah, so these are my Pepe Sylvia red thread moments. Is American Football is more influenced by the Dead Kennedys than they are by Rush.
Sure, absolutely.
Or Genesis or Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, complicated time signatures, but it's also a little more lofty.
Yeah.
They're more intellectual. Seems like a mean way to just be like hardcore guys are meatheads.
No, I think there's a quality about emo bands, punk bands, these kind of this kind of like separation of rock that goes into this other category that it becomes sometimes messier, but more than anything becomes it becomes less about the quality of the sound and more about just the expression of the sound.
Sure.
And that to me is one of the big I think we could look at some genres and say it's not about. I think blues is a great example. Yeah. Blues is not about how good the audio sounds, but it's more about the expression of what they're trying to say in that song.
Yeah, content over quality.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Which you get into in a lot of places.
Yes.
And we're getting deep into rock stuff here, but if you sit down with a jazzer, you start going, well, this is vocal jazz versus bebop versus hard bop versus
and the big band and then,
this is free jazz gets out there.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you can get into the weeds with anything. There are a few things that I think, from my limited knowledge, don't branch as much. Blues is a good example.
Yeah.
Because if blues changes the format much, you have jazz blues, which sort of dies out through the Mississippi Delta.
Yep.
Which is what we think of as blues currently.
Yep.
The only exception being there is a Chicago blues sound that exists that's pretty different from the Delta blues.
But blues changes and then you get, like, not to be reductive, but then you get rock.
Right.
That's it. There's not blues core.
Yeah.
And if there was, please let's not do that, please.
I'm gonna throw it to you right now.
Okay.
every time I die is kind of bluescore.
Well, that's like the Southern metal, which I guess you could just call bluescore. Fuck, I hate it here.
Yeah, no, it's, like I said, it's so frustrating, and to just have somebody that's insistent on. Again, this is progressive tech death. Okay,
sure.
What makes break down each element? Like, how's it progressive, and how is that different than technical?
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting thing that I don't know how I feel about it, but I do feel as though like because I did the Easy Core thing, Core episode, and I think that one of the reasons that I liked landing on that Easy Core is real is because it gives people like a qualifier, a name, a category to say I like these bands because of X, Y, and Z. But I the more like not the more that I think about it, but I mean I just like music.
Yeah,
you know, like one of my biggest pet peeves is when you ask somebody what do they like and they say I like everything. I'm like, shut up. No, you don't. Like, what do you mean? Like, you don't like everything. They'll say, the types. They'll say, I like everything except for rap, or I like everything except for country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, I would say that, like, I think it's just easy to say that you like music and you just find stuff that you like across the board. Now, obviously, you might find yourself going to a certain genre over another, but it is interesting how we happen to like click ourselves and basically have to find like that thing that is our own calling or our own image or our own whatever.
Sure.
Instead of just, I like music.
Yeah.
Right. And like looking at all of these, they almost all have like I think that some of them are larger and broader qualities, like rock. We've already talked about a lot of the stuff that stems off of rock, but then like looking at like reggae, what stems off of reggae?
I mean, you take reggae music and you take punk rock music.
Yeah, but the
and then you get second, third wave ska.
Yeah,
here we go. Waves. That's a big
one.
Thing.
But you've got every ska musician in the world that's going to say that's never where ska comes from, and like I've literally gotten comments about this on our TikTok page about this.
Yeah.
But I see like listening to the music, I see the train, right? You see that reggae and punk become ska, hence ska punk, right?
Yeah.
But like reggae is one of those things where like you're not just a listener, you're part of the community.
Yeah.
You're a part of like the world, the clique, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And there's so much of that where it's like you're a metalhead. You're like, I know so many like, I'm sorry to call out old white guys, but old white guys that are just like blues heads, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's like you have to, it's almost like you have to find where you belong in music instead of just like listening to music.
I've done an incredible job personally of surrounding myself with pretty much musicians exclusively, with a few small exceptions. So I think I'm a pretty diverse listener.
Yeah.
But I definitely meet people that you go, oh, what do you listen to? And it's either everything or so incredibly specific. It's just like baffling to just like, there's so much. Like I could walk you through 10 bands right now that are not a death metal band, but can like, Converge is not a death metal band, but there are definitely some like Cannibal Corpse riffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
In there. Or
well, like you find somebody who has their niche. This is what they listen to. This is who they are, except for their guilty pleasure or except for their one little thing. And like I'm a big person. No musical guilty pleasures. Just listen to what you listen to. But not like a but, like change that idea. But the idea is like a lot of people have their little things of like, I listen to country music. This is like I love, not me. I mean, I do listen to country music, but that's not like my thing. Like somebody says, I love country music. That's who I am. I love country music. And then you try to show them anything that's like, oh, if you love country music, hey, you should check this out because, like off the top of my head, because it's recent, if you like country music, listen to the new Wednesday record because it will give you part of that, like that they'll scratch part of that country itch, but it'll give you a new perspective, a new thing to check out instead of the same old, for lack of a better term, what you're used to. Yeah. Right.
And like connecting dots like that is a blast if you can, if you find somebody that's willing to do it. And I am a country music like super fan,
Yeah.
really. But I can also just tell you how much I hate a lot of country labeled music.
Yeah.
So, but I don't mind going. I'm not going to listen to Morgan Wallen because he's horrendous.
Yeah.
But he's covering songs by Jason Isbell, Sturgill Simpson.
Yeah.
These are artists who are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be more different from a social standpoint.
Absolutely.
But, it's still very country music sounding.
Yeah.
Just better. There's more artistry.
Yeah.
It's deeper, more impactful.
Right.
Lyrically, or you can only sing so many songs about drinking beer in your truck.
Well, I think that's a really fascinating thing is that like you could dare I say you could separate genres even further by, and perhaps there are some that are like this, but perhaps by like not just by musical quality but like lyrical content, and not just by what they're singing about, but like how deep do they get, which I guess is part of what I mean by bro country even.
Yeah.
But just like you could look at a number of existing bands, artists in the world that can separate, like I can think of rock bands that actually have meaningful lyrics I pay attention to. Yeah. I can think of emo bands that have that, and I can think of people who also sing about like them like just memes and sing about stupid shit, right? And so it's like we could divide this up by lyrics as well as by musical qualities.
Well, one of the components of genre is subject.
Subject, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, there's elements there that, like socio-politically motivated music, which is a whole world you get into as you dive into. Punk music is a big one that you get your straight edge guys. And like there's an ethos that they subscribe to and they don't deviate.
Right.
Just period.
Yeah.
Like militant, straight edge, Minor Threat was just, you couldn't, any substance you put in your body was improper for you.
Right.
And you just take life on the chin at all times.
Right.
So, it can get deeper and deeper.
Yeah. To
the point where you can find hyper specific styles of music. That's pretty next level.
Yeah.
When you start getting into things.
Well, yeah. Again, like clicks, niches, those kinds of things become the genre versus like just the music, or even like I said, just like lyrics as well. Becomes bigger than that.
So as things shifted from radio, which you get a program director, goes, this is what we play. I get to decide.
Yeah.
What's album-oriented rock is a big term. So, like, okay, but you also decided the singles.
Yeah.
Most of the time until the 70s.
Right.
So it got to the point with radio in particular that there's 5 people who are putting everything on every station you hear.
Ugh.
And it got unlistenable.
Yeah.
And the internet happens.
Yep.
And it starts with, file sharing and forums, and you can go, well, you like Radiohead.
Yeah.
Here's 30 bands that sound like Radiohead.
Yeah, exactly.
You go, oh, okay. So
and
I don't need a radio station telling me this is what's good.
And that's also due to the fact that like that music was available, but it was in like CD stores, or you had, or it was in music stores, right? But like you would have to go find the guy that had listened to everything and could tell you all the stuff. Whereas like now you could talk to, someone could come and talk to you about like, I like this, and you go, check that out.
Yeah, here you go. Here's 5 things.
Yeah,
I definitely remember going to like record stores and talking to a clerk and just being, I like Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
What else should I be listening to?
It's like the conversations I have with bartenders. I like this beer. What beer should I have instead?
So you just find people who are passionate about something, and you just get them rambling so you can take notes. The internet just became a community of everyone doing that for everyone.
Yes.
To the point that we get now streaming services where essentially all music that's existed, that's been recorded, is available at your fingertips.
Right.
So how do you separate that?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you went to the record store, you would have a file card that said hip hop.
Right.
And then it's just alphabetical from there.
Yeah.
So hip hop was in that section.
Yeah.
So you combed through that to figure out, I like Diggable Planets. I don't like Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you were lucky, you had a CD store that you could take the sleeve and scan it and listen to 30-second samples of 4 songs.
Yeah.
And go, okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Not so much that. And again, now it's just at your fingertips.
Yeah. Well, I think iTunes really, I mean, iTunes was like, you know, the first one that I could think of where it's like, you know, you get those 30-second clips of a song and that lets you decide if you want to buy the song or if you want to, you know, just leave it where it is or whatever.
Preview it from there. And
yeah. And they had it all, like, I mean, like streaming services, they had it all separated by genre, by everything. And so you could know exactly where you were going with it. I do think, though, that there's an interesting thing where if the iTunes would be too early for this, but like, you know, look at everything at your fingertips. Yeah. If the algorithm's working the way it should, in my eyes, then the algorithm can do what the record like store clerk could do.
Sure.
Where you go, I like this. What should I listen to? And you press play on the thing you like, and then it'll just give you shit. It's not like necessarily just because it's hip hop, they're going to keep playing hip hop. But like, oh, if you like, you know, this, if you like Previous Industries, then let's give you more Open Mike Eagle. And then I'm going to give you some a little bit more out there, like perhaps, you know, hip hop inspired, like indie somewhere this direction. It's more maybe a little bit more rocky, but something that's not necessarily right in that hip hop field. Because like, imagine if you like listen to a Previous Industries song and then it's like, here's Drake. It's like the algorithm's not working the way it's supposed to in that instance.
Yeah, I mean, it put genre back in the artist's hands.
Exactly.
A lot. So you record an album and you can say, this is my folk Americana.
Yeah, exactly.
Album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get search engine optimization stuff that you have all the keywords. So if I'm listening to Mumford and Sons, it's going to throw the Hagen album in that because you said the right words.
I said the right words, and then
you played that same banjo like 400 times.
And then the other thing that like I find to be a useful thing that's not necessarily in relation to like, you know, the streaming, but like I'm seeing some places do it. I think it's great. I know that there's one venue in Dallas that does this, but like you can go look at like a venue's schedule. If you click on a band, it'll say like it'll do the for fans of, and I'm like, this is brilliant because they're not a venue that's having bigger bands play. So it's nice to know. Okay, cool. So this band is like these bands, and now I know what I'm getting into. And so it's good to have all that interconnectivity. There's just a lot of it.
Sure. And then, I mean, let's talk a little bit about modifiers because there's a lot that can be pretty confusing.
Sure.
So, you know, just rattling off, we talked about post
and core.
Core. New metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is a big one that's died off and has now come back because bands are inspired by that sort of thing. Avant-garde is a big one, sort of in the jazz world and kind of stems out into other things. I play noise music personally. And that, I wouldn't call it a genre, but it is definitely...
I mean, it's
a modifier.
Yeah, it's for sure. An interesting one that comes to mind that is related to classical music, but was still seen a lot is Baroque.
Sure,
we see Baroque pop.
Yeah, absolutely.
We see Baroque rock.
And you can just go, oh yeah, you listen to Baroque music and go, okay, that's what Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple is doing.
Exactly.
Or, you know, Paul McCartney is a great example of like 1 out of every 5 songs. Sounds like it could have been something that
like a harpsichord player did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's coming back.
So
we just keep coming back to the harpsichord.
It's I can't get away from it. It's just always creeping around.
Yeah.
So something interesting in country music is the term traditional.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you get country music of the 30s and 40s. Country music is a lot of, again, Appalachian mountain music, which is a lot of Irish and Scottish folk music. Translated, and then slaves are shipped in from Africa, and they've got banjos. And so you just get this kind of, at the time, bizarre mountain music that's uneducated people literally coming out of the hills with no shoes on.
Right.
And playing this folk music that jazz players who are, touring in Nashville here and go, well, there's a lot of interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
And I'll have to find his name when we get further into the episode, but there's this archivist who just went with a field recorder, pretty primitive, like 2-track tape.
Yeah. Okay.
And just went to cities and said, if you play or sing, come down. We're going to record you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he's just got this library of sounds.
Yeah.
That he's then showing people, and they're like, oh, we can incorporate jazz into that and get Western swing.
Yeah.
You get German music coming up to settle in the San Antonio area with the Mexican elements there.
Yep.
And get like, oh, we can share the accordion.
Yeah.
just these weird little cultural, historical things that are happening.
Yes.
That changes courses for things. And then you get, it's weird to think, okay, German polkas, Tejano music.
Yeah.
And you somehow end up with White and Nerdy by Weird Al. Which is like a hip hop parody.
Right. Yeah.
By a guy who made his
whole career
from accordion.
Exactly.
So,
yes. Yeah. I think two interesting modifiers. You said one of them, but I think that it should be noted that, because it's not on your list, I think it should be noted that it is for sure a modifier, because you can put it in front of most of those, and that's folk.
Sure.
Like folk rock.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
You could put folk in front of a lot, maybe not electronic, but like you could put like folk in front of a lot of stuff and it'll work. And then the other one that we've said the word but we haven't listened anything about is indie.
Yeah.
Indie is a genre, but I think is a subgenre.
Yeah.
But I think becomes a modifier, because if somebody says something is indie rock, indie pop, indie what have you, you know what you're about to get into.
Sure. I talked a little bit about AM versus FM radio.
Yeah.
FM was typically independent,
right?
Radio station owners.
Yeah.
Which is where the term comes from.
Yeah.
Indie rock was stuff that wasn't getting played on your top 40 mainstream radio.
Right.
That eventually morphs into college. Is an interesting modifier.
Oh yeah, fuck.
So college rock in particular,
college
is a strange thing to think about, but
don't even think about that at all.
Radio got to the point. I majored in radio in college, had a college radio show.
Wild.
And it was music that I wanted to play.
Right.
Now, granted, the 2004 Norma Jean album would not be considered indie music by anyone's standard, but it was an independent record label.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was being played on independent radio stations.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think that those are two big ones for me, where you could put there's a lot. There's just so many of these that come up where it's like you could just put them in front of something and go, I know what you mean now. If someone said folk rock, I know what it is.
Yeah.
I have or indie folk.
So folk is an interesting one because it stems from, it sounds awful to say to someone, but you had art music.
Sure.
Which is sort of a higher class again.
But that's also what it was called, was art music, yeah.
Versus folk music, which is more primitive.
I would say I would say art music would be like the in some regards like the higher perhaps educational perspective of music at the time, but more than anything like the people who actually had access to the education were making art music, and folk music would be more of like for the people, made by the people at the time music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the people who didn't have access to music education and to every instrument and to whatever, they had access to maybe like a beat down guitar or banjo, whatever it is, and they played that.
Sure. I mean, things that was not uncommon to have you'd go to the church in town, and there were instruments there.
Right.
So you could learn guitar from the one guy in town who played guitar at the one church in town.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would teach you songs that he heard his grandpa play.
Right.
Who heard his grandpa play them when they were coming over on boats from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So it's folk is again, you can pretty much slap it on on anything. But the same could be said for like alt.
Yeah, alt
is an interesting one.
So you talked about how indie is like, kind of from the FM radio world. And you said it earlier in the very beginning, like alt is kind of from that same world, right? Of like, this is alternative rock. This is not like I think I would assume that's where the initial alt comes from.
Yeah.
Is like, it's not the rock you've been listening to, it's the alternative rock. But that term becomes something that's like, I could say that something is alt country, like I say about Wednesday, and you kind of get what I'm saying. It's not just country music; it's a little different.
Yeah, we've talked about alt country before, via Wilco.
Yep.
So because the predecessor, Uncle Tupelo, is sort of, again, you can point to it and go, this is sort of where this starts.
Right.
It's country by punk musicians.
Right. Yeah.
So indie rock is another kind of interesting one because it stems from radio.
Yep.
But it's artists like REM, the B-52s. They're all out of Athens, Georgia.
Wow.
And there's a small radio station there.
Yeah.
That's going to like frat parties.
Wow.
And seeing these bands and going, we've got to get this out to people.
That is so cool.
So that's, somebody's going,
right.
How do we do that? Well, the college has a radio station.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it becomes so not about like what, and I think this is something that I feel so much every time we talk about this, and that it becomes so much not about, because you said it, the punk thing, the bands that were happening at punk at the same time didn't, like, Talking Heads being lumped in with those bands. This is not punk music, but like it's not that it's just not the same thing, right? And so like looking at indie rock bands, like it's so hard for me to point to two indie rock bands that sound the same. You could look at eras and go like, oh yeah, these are the same, but like it's a genre, it's a sub genre, sub whatever, a modifier in a genre that is
absolutely
is so in its own category. But at the same time, you kind of, again, what you're going to listen to. At least you have an idea, right?
Yeah. There's some other really fascinating ones. Psych.
Fuck.
You can.
I hate a psych band.
Slap that on anything. Sure. It gets out there.
Yeah.
Really, and then you go, okay, well, what is psychedelia?
Would you say that psych could have come from jam bands?
Right, which stems from jazz.
Yeah. Perfect.
So you talk jam bands. We'll start with the Grateful Dead, who started as a country band.
Right.
And it's Jerry Garcia playing pedal steel.
Yeah.
Here's mandolins and banjos and lots of drugs.
Yeah. The story goes that their sound guy was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And then so like people would just go to the shows and then boom.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. I could be wrong, but
I mean that all tracks to me.
It checks out.
So it is still very prevalent in the scene today.
Yeah.
But they start incorporating elements from other places, and then Goose they put out an album this year that I really liked, but it is definitely a jam band, but it doesn't sound like the Grateful Dead.
Right.
And I didn't put jam as a genre, but
thank you.
Well,
awesome.
We could skirt around.
I would have lost my fucking mind if jam was a genre.
So, but I would say it is.
Of course,
in the fact that there is a community.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a genre. Sorry, I mean like it shouldn't. It's not. If there's a number of things that I feel like should go into like the primary before jam.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. Like I mean, it's neither. It's just one of those things to me where it's like if we're going to talk about jam, like you said, go back to jazz, go back to free jazz, go back to that kind of idea, and then we can talk more about yeah.
So here's another good modifier for you, proto.
Proto.
Proto punk.
Yeah.
Well, what is proto punk? Well, the MC5 and Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
Who are like it's rock music at the time, but there's an attitude that's not rock and roll
right
as we knew it at that point.
So what does the word proto mean? I feel like I know, but I think I'm wrong. I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah, let's get it
because I don't know what to me I have a different I need to find this. Please work. Proto means original or primitive.
Okay.
Which feels like that definition doesn't apply to the examples that you have given me. Well, I guess
to a point.
I guess so. Yeah.
MC5, I believe that record is 1967,
okay,
68.
Yeah.
The Kinks.
But does that mean that you don't give the proto like modifier until a certain point?
Right. I think proto is a what's the word? It's a not proactive is not the right word that I'm thinking of, but you apply it
retroactively.
Retroactive.
Yeah, it's a retroactive. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So,
yeah,
I don't think Iggy Pop is saying I'm a proto punk.
Of course, no. Okay, that makes sense.
I think if you talk to the Clash, in 1977, and go, who are your influences? They're going to tell you it's Lee Scratch Perry and
right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Iggy Pop and Wayne Kramer from the MC5.
Yeah,
so
that's good. Okay,
I like it. It's so convoluted.
Well, I mean that's
eventually.
I mean obviously that's like the whole thing, right? Is that it is crazy, and it's impossible for us to look at all of the whatever, right? But like I do think that simultaneously, like there is so much that like people love that you can go, okay, so this is what this is that comes from this, and it becomes this, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah. I think ultimately what I want to achieve with this, we'll call it a series, is I want to be able to tie the threads for people if they tune in and go, you know what, I am curious to know how we got from Between the Buried and Me to Elvis or Johnny Cash.
Yep.
Because there's a direct line there.
Yeah.
But not everybody puts it together.
Yeah, people don't, first of all, don't, I guess, care enough, nor do they have to care enough. Now, I'm looking up a list of subgenres for us real quick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm not going to read them all off. There's too many.
No.
But an interesting thing that's on the list as a genre that also feels like a modifier is electronic music.
Sure.
Like, okay, electronic core.
Okay.
This has electroacoustic on here.
Sure.
Like these are you could put electronic in indie electronic or I guess that's a modifier with a genre, I guess, but it still is like electronic could be put in front of so many things, and then it could be used as a modifier and the genre, I think.
Yeah. So there are elements of electronic music that verge into dance music. EDM is a term.
Hyperpop is a really big thing that uses like a lot of electronic, like not just, yes, obviously pop music uses like electronic music, but like hyperpop is like the whole premise is like let's make the electronics and the music crazier, right?
Sure. And then I think about things like Frippertronics, Robert Fripp.
Yeah.
I would not call that dance music.
Totally.
It is just kind of purely electronic.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's an artist that I'm excited to talk about and play eventually named Mary Ann Amisher, who is really into binaural sounds and how you can manipulate people's minds with the stereo field.
Yeah.
That I honestly is even borderline like what is music?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, yes. Okay, and now here's you mentioned new.
Yep.
Now, new metal is all I have thought of, but as I'm looking at this list, there are more
Sure.
that I did not think of, and I'm curious if you can think of any other news. I might not have come across them yet, but I'm curious if there's anything that you can think of.
I have followed a playlist for years called New Jazz.
Oh, new jazz. Okay, yeah. Okay,
So,
yep. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Those are the two big ones that come to my mind.
Okay, so there's as a subgenre of new wave, which is already a subgenre. I have new gaze, but NU. So it's new wave is the word NEW, right?
Sure.
But then NU, new gaze. I found in country, newgrass.
Okay.
NU.
I'm curious.
It's progressive bluegrass / newgrass.
Okay.
Which feels wrong also from my understanding of both of those fucking words.
Right.
But whatever. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm seeing it put in so many, like, little things I never would have thought about. Like, new disco, NU disco.
Okay.
New skull breaks. I don't even know what the fuck this is. But it's breakbeat stuff.
Okay.
Which breakbeat is then breakbeat subgenre of EDM, which I think would be a subgenre of electronic music, which would then get us to electronic EDM breakbeat new skull breaks.
I'm just imagining anything that has the word new in it, they just put like Jonathan Davis from Korn scatting into.
Well, I mean, like what, I mean, like new metal. There's so many qualities that make it new metal, but one of the big things to me is that like it's metal plus like a DJ electronic element, right?
Sure.
So when you have electronic music that's adding new, does it take the electronic element out and put something? It's a word. We're not doing this right now.
Say new metal's a deep one to go. Well, how is it different from rap metal versus rap rock versus and Korn is a new metal band.
Yes,
but they don't really have rapping.
No, not at all.
And then, the further you get into Limp Bizkit's catalog, there's barely any rock music in it anymore.
Dang.
So, like, how are you breaking this down? What qualifies things? And that's what I'm here to figure out.
Yeah.
What makes what?
Yeah, that's great.
How can we narrow this down so it maybe makes sense?
Perfect.
But we can at least tie some things together and I guess get some notes for Colin. Is that what he's got going down there?
Well, so I guess from here the next thing is that we'll be starting to cover these on Patreon.
Right.
So we'll be doing like full episodes of the 14, right?
Yeah, they may kind of have to splinter into
of course,
a couple episodes, but
but in general, we'll be doing full episodes on like these larger genres that can go into others. But we'll be doing them on Patreon such that we can listen to as much as we want to, and have the kind of the unfiltered discussion in the best way possible without having to worry about whatever the fuck live stream YouTube nonsense.
Yeah, we can get out of the fair use world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of listening, so that the two of us, I do want to bring in.
We'll bring in guests.
Some guests, and really break it down and go, this is what I think this is, and this is why I think it's that way. And here are some examples.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to get through, and it feels incredibly daunting and seemingly endless.
Yeah, I think the big thing about it for me is that like I don't think it's possible to really get it exactly as we want. I don't think it's ever going to be, because there's too much information.
Because it's not real.
Yeah. It's a societal construct.
Yeah,
but I think that the big thing for me is that we sit there and we look at like these genres, their histories, and then where can they tie to other things, and try to really draw those those lines and try to work through not just like the deep history of classical music, but more specifically like the history and the path of genre to lead us to where we are today. Which, if this Wikipedia is any indication, there is too much music.
There's again, it's incredibly daunting and seemingly endless.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm fascinated to know how we can tie together Brahms and the Punch Brothers.
Right. Yes. 100%.
Or how do we tie Bill Monroe to Cannibal Corpse?
Yeah. Yeah, 110%. So we will be doing the rest of this, not today, but the rest of this on Patreon with longer form stuff, lots of listening, and I guess notes. I guess we can we can make notes public for Colin. I guess.
So we're working on the publishing deals now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Handwritten book that I'm going to put out at the end of all this.
That's perfect. That's great. Was there anything else you wanted to hit before we call it? This is just the whole point of this was just to introduce the whole conversation and get us ready for the Patreon stuff that we'll be doing.
Yeah. Let you know what's happening and figure out how do we tackle such a complex subject.
Yeah.
I don't really have, like I said, there's a lot that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of history that we can or can't dig into.
Yeah.
Depending. But it'll be interesting to get some folks in here and see.
Yeah.
I look forward to learning.
I can't wait.
I have big gaps in a lot of this stuff that I would love to fill.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to get through all this stuff, and I can't wait to have the conversation that will, like, the inevitable either heated or wonderful conversation about certain parts of this. I think that part of the beauty of it is the subjective nature of it, is that's like, there's going to be people who die on genre hills in the subgenre world of metal, and I find it to be the most cringe thing in the world, but yet simultaneously I feel so passionately about a lot of those sometimes where I'm like, I don't know why, how you could dare say this band is metalcore, it's like, it's we're all pearl clutching. It's fine.
No, this is all just leading up to me releasing my post-progressive tech country death album.
Awesome. So if that's all we have today, then perfect. Okay, sampling as a clue to links between genres. Yeah,
that's going to be the history of hip hop.
Yep.
and sampling is pretty wild.
Pretty depth. Pretty.
Going to be fun to get into.
Absolutely. Well, great. Cool.
That's what I got.
Thanks everybody for watching and listening with us. If you at all enjoyed this genre conversation, again, go join us over on Patreon, patreon.com/don'tbetheartist, and this will be starting over there soon. We're not going to put a date on it because it's just, there's a lot to talk about, but it'll be soon, we promise. So we'll be over there soon to start this conversation. So go join us over there. If you haven't already joined us over there, there's plenty of stuff you haven't watched or listened to already, so you could just go do that too. But regardless, this will be new stuff that we will keep adding on to, and this conversation will be deep and in depth. So join us for that. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Perfect. And we'll be seeing you. Bye.